Bonsoir. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
King China.
je suis en planque sous un lit, parce qu'il y a une gamine de 3 ans qui me cherche pour boire du thé imaginaire avec elle. Donc vraiment à l'aide, genre vraiment à l'aide.
Quelle heure elle est? 20h07. Alors, minuit, 23h, 22h, 21h, 20h.
This is the story of a man
C'est l'histoire d'un homme
named
appelé Stanley.
Stanley worked for a
Stanley
company
travaillait
in a
pour une
big
entreprise
building
installée
where
dans
he
un
was
grand immeuble où il était
employee number
l'employé
427.
numéro 427.
Employee number
Le travail de
427
l'employé
job was
né
simple.
427 était
He
simple.
sat at his desk
Il devait
at
s'asseoir
room
derrière son
427
ordinateur du bureau
and he
427 et
pushed
appuyer
buttons
sur des
on the
touches de
keyboard.
son clavier.
Orders came to him
Les
through a
instructions lui
monitor.
parvenaient à travers l'écran.
What
Il indiquait
buttons
quelle
to
touche
push,
on faisait,
how long to push them,
quel ordre.
and
Ah
in
ouais.
what order. This is what
Employé
employee
427 faisait exactement la même chose jour après jour, mois après mois, année après année. Certains ils verraient, mais Stanley adorait ce fragile. Je comprends rien. Et Stanley était heureux. Et soudain un jour, survint un événement très curieux. Un événement qui changerait Stanley à tout jamais. Un événement qu'il ne pourrait jamais oublier. Il était assis à son bureau depuis quelques jours et il réalisait qu'une seule instruction ne lui était parvenue. Personne n'était venu le voir pour lui donner des ordres, l'inviter à une réunion, ni même le saluer. Durant toutes ces années dans l'entreprise, il n'avait jamais fait l'expérience d'un tel silence autour de lui. Assurément, quelque chose n'allait pas. Choqué et comme agrondi par l'écran, Stanley fut incapable de bouger pendant 2 minutes. Quand enfin il retrouva ses esprits, se leva de la chaise et sortit de son bureau. Je suis Stanley. Tous ses collègues avaient disparu. Mais pourquoi? Stanley décida de se rendre à la salle de réunion. Il avait peut-être simplement une réunion surprise ou j'en sais rien moi. Oui, sa salle de merde. Stanley parvint à hauteur de porte ouverte et décida de s'engouffrer dans cette aventure. Ce n'était pas la bonne façon de se rendre à la salle de réunion et Stanley en était parfaitement conscient. Peut-être voulait-il d'abord passer par la salle de pause pour admirer. Ah voilà, une pièce véritablement admirable. Finalement, ça devrait vraiment... Stanley franchit la première porte ouverte sur sa gauche. Ainsi, il fit un détour par le service de maintenance, marcha droit vers la porte opposée et reprit sa route. Et pourtant là non plus, il n'y avait personne. Saisi par une vague d'incrédulité, Stanley décida de monter jusqu'au bureau de son chef dans l'esprit de trouver une réponse. Je vois qu'il n'y a personne.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
C'est quoi son nom?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
C'est quoi son rôle? Y'a quelqu'un? MDR. C'est quoi ça?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
A-t-il la force de percer ce secret? Bonne question. Écoute. Alors.
Now the monsters jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
J'en sais rien, moi. Alors.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad.
Ok, alors, comment je sais? Hop là.
Sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Oh, merde.
Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave.
Oh, merde.
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that.
S'il vous plaît, l'audio. Oh.
This is the story of a man. This is the story of a man named Stanley. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
Oh, ta gueule, arrête de parler.
Good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off?
Oh no.
I mean, look at you.
Oh no.
From button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored buttons, or this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten?
C'est quoi ça?
One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. but I'm going to destroy
Super.
it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley.
Goodbye, employé. Ah, les bâtards. Non. Non.
No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice.
Vert.
Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself?
C'est quoi ça?
Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now,
fermer ta gueule.
These words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Allez, endors-toi.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Oui.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Je vais péter mon crâne.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Je vais aller devant, on va voir.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ta gueule.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Yeah.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do that.
Take her.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he...
J'arrive. Ouais.
Et voilà, nous y est. Alors on va faire un petit dessin. Et voilà. Petit mur de dessin. Tout ça c'est moi, voilà.
Alors.
He gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
Musique, mais abonne-toi l'ami.
YouTube. Sur ma chaîne YouTube, abonne-toi à ma chaîne YouTube, Atlas, c'est ma chaîne YouTube.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace, its subtle charm? No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Je fais pas ce qu'il me demande. Et ouais.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see, we went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
What the fuck?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
J'ai envie de canner.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
On va aller de droite à gauche. C'est un labyrinthe.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Mais... Oh, arrêtez.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all.
What the
fuck? Is this a story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building.
What the...
Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart. All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Hey.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there. Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination
What the fuck?
still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
J'aime bien la musique.
Cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Je comprends pas la musique. Ah. Bah je vais me faire foutre.
We're back at the office? No.
Oh.
No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Restart.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Mais please. Et j'ai appelé Joanne parce que là c'est... Panique, c'est mort. Je mets ma sonnerie, puis on verra bien quand il va répondre. Allez.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you... All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Non. Non. What? Ça je peux ouvrir. Là je peux me barrer. Et là je vais me barrer. Et bah monte alors. Je sais pas, j'ai réussi ou...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's
Ça fait 2 fois que je vais là.
What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried
C'est fou de ma gueule le jeu.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ouais, te fous de ma gueule.
Incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ma MDR.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
J'avais pas vu ça tout à l'heure, donc j'ai bien fait de le voir. C'est bien, j'ai l'impression de tourner en rond, mais en même temps, non. Non, jamais. Jamais, le narrateur, tu vas te la fermer.
Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Au devant de la mort, oui, bien sûr.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story. Trapped forever in his narrow vision.
C'est vraiment la mort, je crois, là.
Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Bonjour.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
C'est la meuf.
Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Bureau. J'ai terminé le jeu. Ça c'est un prank.
Let's see. Stanley walked through the green door. Then he pushed the grate.
J'ai pas terminé le jeu. Alors le jeu il était très bizarre. Parce que le narrateur il a relancé le jeu je ne sais pas combien de fois. 8 je crois c'était marqué.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Gueule.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
C'est même pas terminé. Ça se terminera jamais.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this.
Vous comptez me laisser crever là ou? Oh putain. Sors-moi de là, sors-moi de là. Sors-moi de là, sors-moi de là. Allô?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Oh oui, t'as fait une erreur. Gars, oui, t'as fait une erreur. Ce jeu se terminera donc jamais.
Oh, new content?
Ouais.
What does that mean? New content.
Oh merde.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the
attends.
world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Hello?
Is it broken? What's going on here?
Hello?
Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's
the jump
the
circle.
Jump circle.
Je peux sauter.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive.
Non,
it's
moi
just
j'ai pas non plus.
elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Mais ça c'était le bureau de... Oh, oh là là.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Quoi, connard?
You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares? Oh, never mind. You're not a dork.
Ok.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special, and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Oh.
Just our little secret. Take a
Oh,
look.
wow. Ça c'est bien.
The Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013? And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever
I love this game. Me too.
ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Oh, ok. Why not?
Copie conforme CV.
Quoi Naïs, ça va et toi?
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable
Le jeu il s'éloigne complètement.
a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game.
De base, alors je précise, hein, parce que de base, nous sommes un mec dans un bureau qui quitte le bureau et tout et tout. Mais là, je comprends pas trop.
Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling. These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all.
Au début, c'était très drôle.
Wait.
Là, je comprends déjà
I
rien.
don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny!
Pas drôle!
Funny.
Wow!
I'm trying to make a serious work of art.
Il a dit que le narrateur était pas drôle. Je suis mort. Non, oh non, le pauvre narrateur, s'il vous plaît, il a rien demandé.
Et alors Now, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I?
Je ne suis pas d'honneur.
I'm preachy. Honestly, you can.
Vous pouvez me répondre franchement, alors là je suis
quite
loin
shocking for
choqué.
I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure.
On s'éloigne du jeu. Je te jure, on s'éloigne vraiment du jeu.
Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling. What's this one got to say?
Vous devez tout le temps arrêter. Pour le narrateur ait le temps de déballer ses explications interminables. Je rêvais d'un bouton passé.
Well, yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Oh merde. Ce jeu réagit à son propre jeu. J'ai jamais vu ça.
And here it is.
T'as déjà vu ça, Naïs, toi, avant?
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flurry. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with.
Je suis un enculé.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning...
Ah. Allô? Bah, il est mort. Oh, c'est quoi? Gueule! Oh, c'est insupportable.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave. The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Je vais canner avec ce narrateur. Ta gueule! En plus, il fait flipper. Oui, il y a des fuites. Ah! Où le soleil? Moi je suppose que... Rien là. Flipper. Oh. Oh merde. Il s'est passé quoi? Oh. What? Voilà.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Là, je me sens un peu seul.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Yeah.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features. Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley. But I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Comment on a se refait? Je me sens seul là.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet? Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic. Oh goodness, Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to the bucket exhibit. You see, there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the bucket. And I really do hate to break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the bucket, okay? All right, I'll get out of your hair now. For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath. Clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim. sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much, Jim.
Jim.
I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature. A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they?
Non, il se fout de ma gueule, c'est pas
All this
possible.
and more. A wish
J'ai un...
in the Stanley Parable 2.
Vraiment, tant d'années de carrière de jeux vidéo, j'ai jamais vu ça. Un jeu qui se fout de ma gueule. Un jeu qui se fout de ma gueule.
But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Mais il s'est vraiment foutu de ma gueule. Mais j'en ai marre. Mais...
Actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Il se fout de ma gueule. Il se fout de ma gueule.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Quand je titre ce jeu, se fout de ma gueule. Il veut que je saute dans le vide. Eh bah allons-y. Hein. C'est pas merveilleux. Je comprends pas le délire.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
J'en ai marre du saut. Et ça ne veut toujours pas fonctionner. Super. Je joue un putain de saut. Hein. C'est Messi, c'est Ronaldo, c'est tout ce que tu veux, mais c'est pas moi ça.
So Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
What?
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Aïe.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he... All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Les ballons. Là, je peux pas passer.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a... Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it? When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided, oh no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. He relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Allô?
Ouais,
m'appeler.
C'est pour savoir si tu pouvais être co sur la play.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated,
Je suis pas chez moi.
Stanley calmly
Pas chez toi.
walked forward into the open
Non, je suis. Ma soeur m'a invité à manger chez elle avec mes parents.
Ah ok. Mais tu peux regarder le live ou pas?
Sûrement. Mais c'est chiant, je reçois plus tes notifs quand tu fais des lives, alors que j'ai activé les notifs.
Ah ouais, bah ça fait 2 heures que je suis en live. Le narrateur, il est vraiment... Le narrateur du jeu, il est vraiment en train de se foutre de ma gueule, mais c'est trop drôle.
C'est quoi comme jeu là que tu fais?
Alors le jeu, il s'appelle The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
De nom, ça me dit rien, mais je dois potentiellement connaître.
Je sais pas, je ne pense pas, parce que même moi je connaissais pas avant. Dans les jeux, il coûte 20 balles.
Après, si c'est un petit jeu, c'est un jeu d'horreur, c'est ça?
C'est pas un petit jeu, non. Alors c'est pas un jeu d'horreur, mais c'est un jeu, c'est stressant quand même.
Un thriller.
Non plus, mais il y a des moments où c'est un peu sombre, quoi.
Ouais.
Mais non, c'est pas un... En fait, c'est un jeu, on dirait le narrateur, il se fout de la gueule du jeu, mais... Non, en vrai, c'est trop drôle. Parce qu'en fait, il y a un jeu dans un jeu. Mais il y a un jeu dans un jeu dans un jeu.
Et du coup, il y a un jeu dans un jeu dans un jeu dans un jeu.
Oui. Non, en fait, le truc, c'est que... Je sais pas comment l'expliquer.
Et du coup, il y a un jeu dans 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 un jeu. Oh ta gueule, Nala. Non, non, t'inquiète pas, Nala, c'est qu'on connaît. C'est le nom de la chienne à ma soeur. Oui, elle s'appelle Nala, alors.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy?
Bon, c'est trop marrant parce que toi-même tu interagis avec le narrateur.
Ah ouais, en fait, ce jeu, tu brises le quatrième mur.
Oui. Oui, parce que tu sais qu'à un moment quand il me dit de faire un truc et que je fais totalement l'inverse, il me dit, parce que je crois qu'il s'appelle Stanley, le perso principal. Et il me dit, du coup, bah Stanley il fait pas ce qu'on lui demande, je comprends même pas pourquoi il est pas licencié encore. Parce que je peux totalement faire ce qu'il me demande, hein, mais j'ai totalement la flemme. Et tu peux bouleverser le jeu, carrément.
Ah ouais, bouleverser, carrément.
Ah non, mais je te jure que tu peux commencer dans un bureau, mais tu termines, mais t'es à l'autre bout de la planète, hein.
Ah ouais, en gros, tu peux commencer en France, t'arrives au Japon.
C'est ça. Mais en fait, ce que tu veux, en fait, il y a un moment, j'arrive dans un monde et tout, je comprends que dalle. Là, ça fait 2 heures de live, donc je pense pas que tu vas regarder tout le début, mais au moins si tu peux regarder maintenant. Je sais même pas quand je termine.
Je vois. Parce que là en même temps, bah, j'étais en train de parler avec ma famille, et sauf que pendant que j'étais parti au shot, ils m'avaient appelé.
Mais il est parti.
Marine Le Pen, alias Diego, alias, entre parenthèses, mon frère, Aubergine Goutte-Goutte. J'aurais dû leur expliquer, et en même temps, putain, je peux parler. Je leur ai raconté pour la journalistique que le photomontage que Liam a fait.
Ah oui.
Ils ont rigolé, ils ont rigolé.
Ok.
Je parle, toi, t'as toujours pas montré tes parents?
Si, je sais même plus en fait. Alors, system power, bah du coup, off. Merde. Et là, j'ai cassé le jeu.
Je croyais que tu mets sur on, mais t'as mis sur off.
En fait, la première fois, j'ai mis sur on et ça a déclenché une bombe nucléaire. Là, j'ai mis sur off. L'obscurité, un frisson d'incertitude de plus en plus intense. Ah ouais, j'ai niqué le jeu. C'est ça le truc. Carrément, c'est un jeu, il brise même pas le 4ème mur, il brise le 6ème mur.
Ouais, depuis quand il y a 6 murs du sol?
Moi, j'en sais rien, moi.
Je sais pourquoi on dit 4ème mur, parce que dans une pièce de théâtre, il y a 3 murs avec lesquels les acteurs peuvent interagir, et le 4ème mur, bah c'est nous les spectateurs.
Ouais, ça.
Je sais pas si tu connaissais ça.
Si, je connaissais. Bah si, on nous apprend ça à l'école des spectateurs. Au théâtre.
Ah oui, ils expliquent c'est quoi le 4ème mur.
Oui, c'est ça.
Bon, moi j'ai appris ça dans une vidéo TikTok. Ça, c'était un mec qui racontait pourquoi Deadpool cassait autant le 4ème mur, etc.
Mais ça, c'est fun. En fait, c'est tellement original que c'est mieux, même.
Ouais, ça montre de l'originalité qu'on peut dans le film. Mais je trouve les films avec lesquels ils brisent le 4ème mur, ce sont les plus drôles.
Oui.
Par exemple.
Deadpool, même ce jeu-là, il brise le 4ème mur, mais c'est tellement plus drôle. Parce qu'en fait, à un moment, on arrive dans un monde où il y a des commentaires méchants, et puis à un moment, il y a un commentaire où il disait qu'il était pas drôle. Du coup, il commence à s'énerver et tout.
Comment ça, je suis pas drôle, parce que c'est
ah, mais c'est ça. Du coup, bah, il fait tomber le tableau des commentaires et puis j'ai terminé le jeu.
Non, tu viens de finir là?
Ouais. Non, arrête.
Oh, il y avait un mec qui s'est en train de courir, j'avais envie de gueuler. Cours, Forest, cours!
Attends, mais j'ai tellement de trophées. Alors attends, j'ai tellement de trophées à avoir sur le jeu. Alors c'est quoi, vous avez fait tout ce que nous avons demandé. J'ai pas compris. Ah c'est test, trophée, description, replastise.
Ta gueule. Je parle pas j'ai pas ta gueule. Oh ta gueule là.
Vas-y, attends, bah si tu veux. Je comprends rien à ce que je veux. Attends.
André. Allez.
Ta grand-mère. Oh, le seau. Stanley ramasse le seau. Ok.
Stanley me jette le seau.
Et j'ai un seau, je sais même pas. Là, si tu veux, je suis dans un jeu. Parce que si tu veux, ils ont créé un jeu dans un jeu où du coup, bah, je joue à la suite du jeu, mais dans le 1. Je joue au 2 dans le 1.
En gros, tu joues à un jeu. Dans laquelle c'est une personne qui joue un jeu.
Non.
C'est une personne qui joue un jeu. Dans laquelle ton perso joue un jeu.
Non, même pas.
Même pas.
Non, mais c'est galère. C'est galère à comprendre.
En gros, tu joues à un mec qui joue un jeu, d'un mec qui joue un jeu, d'un mec qui joue un jeu.
Si seulement, mais non, pas du tout.
Bah frère, c'est ce que j'ai compris.
Oh non. Oh non. Oh, ça va faire péter mon crâne, ça. Bon, là, pour t'expliquer la situation, je suis dans une boucle infinie.
Comme ma bite.
Ta gueule. Mais je te jure que limite... Ah, si, on entend. Mais limite, j'ai envie de dire, c'est un jeu troll.
Il y a des chansons.
C'est un jeu troll parce que vu comment il est, je te jure que au début j'ai failli quitter parce que il arrêtait pas de parler le mec là. En fait, je comprends maintenant, par la suite, on comprend pourquoi il parle beaucoup, mais c'est chiant quoi. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre... Quelle que soit la décision bizarre, Stanley pouvait avoir. Sans la présence de son seau pour l'amarrer psychologiquement, en effet, il se met à remarquer que les pièces se répètent, ce qui, sûr, était étrange. Il se sentait alors flotter au-dessus du sol. Bon sang, s'exclama-t-il. Sans mon seau, je suis vraiment devenu fou. Où est-il? Je dois le retrouver. Il entendit l'appeler au loin. Il n'arrête pas de parler. Stanley, c'est moi le seau.
Ah, mais attends, même le sou il parle.
Ah, mais il y a du saut partout. Est-ce possible? Il se posait d'une pièce à l'autre. Aucun d'entre eux n'était le sien. Aucun n'était en... Il devait trouver le seau, il devait trouver son vieil ami. C'était la seule manière de... Soudain, il s'immobilisa, savoir d'où le seau était venu. Depuis le début, le vrai seau était en lui. Ah ouais, non, mais là, ça part sur des théories. Bon, t'as peur. Hein.
Depuis le début, le vrai seau est dans le lit.
Dans lui.
Ah, il est en lui.
C'est l'histoire d'une femme appelée Mariella. Mariella se réveilla un beau jour et se leva, s'habilla, ramassa son seau de réconfort et de sécurité et regagna à pied son lieu. Mais pourquoi il a un seau à la main? Les frères sont en train de refaire tout le jeu mais avec des seaux. Cet homme n'avait pas de seau. Bien sûr qu'il était devenu fou à fumier à tempêter contre un narrateur qui décrivait toutes ses actions, qui expliquait que tout était déterminé, que le... Oh, il parle trop vite en plus. Tout cela n'est arrivé si seulement s'il avait emporté son seau avec lui. Il ne s'est peut-être même pas rendu compte qu'il avait oublié son seau chez lui. Ce monde est tellement cruel, se dit Mariella. Et elle sera son seau en... Bien sûr, elle n'avait pas le temps pour cela. Elle devrait bientôt se confronter au travail à une multitude de problèmes Je comprends rien ce qu'il dit.
C'est un jeu gratos?
Oui, non, ça c'est pas un jeu gratos. C'est un jeu payant. Et elle se rendit à son travail avec son seau. Je suis en bugage. Et là, on revient au tout début. Nanana. Tous ses collègues étaient... Attendez, non, nous sommes trompés de bureau, n'est-ce pas? Bah non. C'est le bureau de Stanley. Bah non. Qu'est-ce qu'il me parle du bureau de Stanley? C'est moi Stanley, non? Enfin, je crois.
Et en vrai, depuis le début, en fait, il est Roberto.
Stanley parvint à hauteur de bord. Ce n'était pas la bonne façon de se rendre à la salle réunion. Après, ça va, il se répète. Des portes que je peux pas ouvrir. Je comprends rien.
Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section.
Là, il y a une ascenseur que je suis pas censé y aller, mais j'y vais quand même. J'y vais parce que j'ai des couilles. Mais Stanley ne voulait pas retourner au bureau. Il voulait errer et s'éloigner encore plus du chemin. Alors pour entrer, il devait... En partant d'ici, c'est la gauche. Non, c'est sur la droite, je fais erreur. Non, pas la droite. Là, il se perd. Comment ai-je pu dire que c'était à droite? Qu'est-ce qui m'a pris? C'est clairement... Attendez, vous pouvez patienter une minute, s'il vous plaît, et puis là, il est en train de froisser ses feuilles. Le narrateur incompétent. Nous avons pris à droite, à gauche, en bas, à gauche, à droite. Ah oui, ok, c'est bon, j'ai trouvé. Et là, il claque des mains. Je te jure, mais...
No, this isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just back to oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this
nous redémarrions le jeu au début. Cette fois, nous pourrions éviter de nous écarter autant du droit chemin et repartir du début. Et puis là, il a redémarré le jeu.
En fait, c'est une boucle sans fin ton jeu là.
Oui et non. Oui et non, parce que t'as des portes. Le narrateur, il fait que de parler, il veut pas fermer sa gueule. T'as des portes partout. Et il y a certaines, ils sont vertes, il te dit d'aller à un endroit et au final tu vas à un autre et puis du coup, bah, l'histoire il change.
Ça me rappelle un truc. Bah, cet après-midi, quand on a fait les portes ouvertes du deuxième lycée, il y avait un prof, ça se voit qu'il aimait énormément son métier.
Pourquoi?
Pendant 1 heure facile, il faisait que d'expliquer des trucs sur l'aéronautique.
Oh.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or
En vrai, je pense, si je joue en aéronautique, si la chaudronnerie me plaît pas énormément, et que si je change de filière, si je joue en aéronautique, je vais chez Airbus. Il y a un mec, en deuxième année d'apprentissage, il gagne 1300-1400 euros par mois.
Jouer à de stylet parable pendant tout un mardi. Mais c'est quoi ce trophée? Mais ouais, il y a un trophée, c'est marqué 8. Mais je rigole même pas. Cliquez 5 fois sur la porte 430. Terminez ce Stanley parable en moins de 40 minutes et 22 secondes, temps de chargement non compris. Placez tous les curseurs de réglage du menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Ne jouez pas à The Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. Et le trophée il s'appelle Va jouer dehors. Je te jure que c'est vrai. Vas-y, attends. Appel vidéo. Je te jure que c'est vrai. Alors regarde. Bon déjà là on a le truc obtenir tous les trophées. Là bah recevez un trophée, n'importe quel trophée pour la première fois, voilà, finissez de styler parable. Test de trophée, voilà, on a ça. Quittez le jeu et relancez-le. Là tout va bien. Non sérieux, on a supprimé l'option. Jouer à Stanley pendant tout un mardi. Je sais pas si t'arrives à voir.
C'est tout ce que t'as gagné là?
Engagement. Non, c'est tout ce que je devrais gagner. Là, on a plein de 8.
Ouais.
Et ça s'appelle 8. Cliquez 5 fois sur la porte 430. Là, on a quoi? Terminé. Placez tout le curseur. Voilà. Ça me fume.
Je vois... Attends. Ouais, non. Je vois la montée. Merde. Ah, c'est chaud.
Va jouer dehors.
Si tu joues pas vraiment pendant 10 ans...
Le frère, il me dit ne joue pas au jeu pendant 10 ans. Ça a l'air d'être un jeu enfantin, mais je te jure, sur la tête de ma mère, que ma manette est morte. Je te jure, sur la tête de ma mère, que ce jeu va me faire péter un câble. Ah mais non, mais je te jure. Là, ça fait quoi? Ça fait 2h21 que je tourne en rond, frère, que je fais toujours la même chose. Je suis encore en live.
J'ai commencé la il était 19h.
Ouais, à peu près. J'ai commencé le live, il était 20h. Ouais 19h59 quand j'ai commencé le live. Et là, il demande de redémarrer encore le jeu. Parce que monsieur, il va redémarrer le jeu. Allez, Sion, qu'est-ce qui nous empêche? Bah, nique ta mère.
Après, ça te permettra d'avoir un trophée en or après. Hein.
Pourquoi tu... 430 déjà, il faut que je trouve.
T'as trouvé la porte 430?
Oui, oui, mais j'arrive pas à cliquer dessus.
Attends, il fait 2 degrés dehors.
2 Et toi, t'es dehors là?
Oui. Ouais.
Ouais.
Alerte météo grave. Avertissement sévère en cas d'inondation de dimanche.
Inondation dimanche, putain de merde.
Ouais, je suis allé sur Google, j'ai météo parce que j'ai raccourci sur mon tel. Je clique dessus. Alerte météo grave.
Okay,
déjà, la prochaine fois que tu passeras vers chez moi, etc., va à Rouen. Passe par Maison et on regarde sur l'échange. Tu vois, il y a une écluse.
Ouais.
Ouais, on regarde au niveau de l'écluse. Même tu pourras voir bien avant. Tellement c'est inondé. Merde, là.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Tu fais tout le temps ce défi-là.
Non,
en fait, la dernière fois, dans un goûter avec ma famille, on a voulu le faire, sauf qu'on ne l'avait pas. Que ma daronne a fait avec de l'eau pétillante. C'est tranquille. Et là, bah là, on a acheté du Sprite. On l'a fait. J'ai lâché 1 € qui m'a fait mal à la gorge.
This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure.
C'est pareil, des fois, quand tu fais le défi, t'as des grosses bulles de remontée de gaz. J'en ai eu plusieurs, ils m'ont fait trop mal au poumon. Ouais, moi, en gros, j'ai laissé parce que je commence à avoir mal aux mains, là, à cause du froid.
Ouais, bah ouais.
Quand t'as moins 2 degrés, t'as un ressenti -1, et que t'es en t-shirt dehors, en manche courte.
C'est ça. Bah, bonne chance, hein.
En fonction de l'heure que je rentre, je verrai sur le live où je te ferai une partie vocale.
Ouais, ouais. Bah, je pense que quand tu vas rentrer, je serai plus sur le live. Je pense que j'aurais déjà quitté.
Ouais, vu qu'il est 22h30.
Bah, surtout que je pense que c'est moi que j'ai terminé le jeu. Après, si tu veux, on pourra le refaire ensemble. En vrai, il est cool.
Bah, ça dépend, il coûte combien.
Non, mais genre, t'as pas besoin de l'acheter. Enfin, moi, je l'ai et on pourra le faire comme ça.
Ah
on
oui,
peut pas.
On fait ensemble, etc.
Ouais, c'est ça. On peut pas le. Y a pas de mode. Multijoueur. Mais je crois qu'il coûte une vingtaine d'euros, un truc comme ça.
Ah ouais.
Il coûte 21 euros, 22 euros.
Ouais. Après, je pense pour Minecraft, je vais l'acheter directement sur PlayStation Store. Parce que j'ai vu au magasin, il coûte 25 euros, je crois. Et sur PlayStation Store, il coûte 20 balles.
Moi, en magasin, j'ai dû l'acheter 20 balles. Hein.
Je sais pas, moi je l'ai vu qu'il était à 25.
Moi, je crois que je l'ai acheté à 20 balles, voire un peu moins. Mais...
Après, il faudrait que j'aille à Pikachu pour voir s'il est pas en occasion.
Ouais.
Après, bah, si on ne trouve pas, on le prendra. Hein. On prendra le moins cher complètement.
Bon.
Bon, vas-y, je vais te laisser, je vais me réchauffer.
Ouais. Vas-y.
Vas-y, à toutes.
À toutes.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of... You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Well, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting.
Voilà.